Hello SPED 2010 students. I hope everyone had a great week last week. So I wanted to make this video to talk about your course project work. So I have a few people that are working on the work-based learning project and have chosen that. If you are not going to be completing the work-based learning project, then that means you have to choose either the interview or the journal article report. And I wanted to take time to go through that with you. So to get to the course project work, you will have to click read the first getting started. So it's under the getting started section underneath course projects. You will scroll down until you see parent interview, journal article review. Now, you do have to choose one of these three projects. It is too late now to choose the work-based learning. Those are already situated. We already have approval. So if you are not one that I've been speaking with on the phone or through email, then please disregard the work-based learning. I'm only focusing on interview and journal article report for those students. So let's go ahead and dive into the interview first, and then we'll go over the journal article report. Okay, so for the interview, you are going to be interviewing a parent who has a child with exceptional needs. So this is really going to allow you to gain a deeper understanding of what parents experience and what it's like having a child who has disability. The whole point also is for you to reflect on these understandings and to enhance your perspective coming from an educator point of view. You really are going to be collaborating and working with these individuals and families, so it's important for you to be able to see and gain multiple perspectives. So I have laid out here what the task is. The task for this is for you to conduct an interview with a parent, or it could be a legal guardian who has a child that has a disability which requires special ed. Now when we say special ed, normally that means they have an IEP, right? And if it's early childhood, they have an IFSP. So you're going to use the provided questions below, right? And also you're going to include some additional questions of your own. And you're going to document this interview with a transcript. So when you use a transcript, you're really going to document not only the questions, but also the answers or responses. And then finally, the task you have after the interview and documenting it is going to be a reflection, which is going to address some prompts I give you. So let's look next at the criteria, how and when. So here are some interview requirements. The interview has to be and involve a child who has an IEP, which is an individualized education plan within the school system. And it has to be someone that is not related to you. Okay, so now it could be a church member you know, someone that you know at work, a friend of the family, that's fine, but it cannot be someone related to you. Also, the criteria that I impose upon you is you cannot use their real names. We have to think about maintaining confidentiality. So you could use initials or pseudonyms, all of that's fine, but I do not want their names listed in here. We need to respect their privacy. Now, when you're conducting the interview, what you need to make sure is that you have to be able to communicate effectively, right? So what do you feel most comfortable with? What do they? Obviously, in person is the best way to conduct the interview, but that's not always feasible due to time, scheduling, and conflicts. So you could do a video call, a Teams call, Zoom, something of that sort. A FaceTime call also works really well, or you can just do an audio over the phone. So remember, in-person videos, in-person or video interviews are preferred just because of the interaction, right? And we have those non-responsive cues, like those verbal cues are good, but we want to make eye contact. We want to be able to get the little nuances that you don't get when you're talking on the phone with someone. So when you are conducting the interview, it's important for you to introduce yourself, explain why you're doing this interview, which I would do that before I actually get in the interview. So it may take 2 contacts, one before you get started, like permission to do it with them, and then the second contact would be the actual interview itself. And just reassure the person that you're interviewing that obviously confidentiality is going to be maintained, but also they do not have to answer any questions that they don't feel comfortable answering. Some things that I wanted to also put in here is think about providing questions, right, that you would like to ask them that's not on here. So these additional questions, obviously I require you to do it, but some people choose to not use them. I would say if you use additional questions, think about questions that really are going to help you gain a deeper understanding and connection to that family. Also, if there are any questions that the interviewee felt bad or felt uncomfortable answering, make sure that you note that in the transcript. So in order to receive a B or higher grade, remember you have to not only include the original questions that I have given you, but ones that you create as well. And then you will be submitting the transcript along with your reflection. Now, your reflection we'll get into in just a moment, but your reflection has to be a minimum of 300 words, right? I do have a rubric for this assignment, so it looks at all the different criteria and how you will be graded. So the interview questions are here. There's 13 of them. And then, of course, you will add additional questions. Now, you notice I didn't say question, so I want 2 to 3 additional questions that you come up with on your own. And then reflection prompt. So what I would do to lay out this format is I would do a heading. I would copy and paste the interview questions, then start your transcript, and underneath my transcript, remember this needs to be a running document, I want it all on one document, that's where your reflection piece will go. And you can name it reflection prompt if you want. Okay, so I would headed it as interview questions, and then transcript, and then reflection prompts. So the reflection prompts, I give you 4 questions. I do want them responded. I do want your response to be thorough. I want you to think about the answers before you type them out. I really want you to gain something from this experience. And remember, when you're thinking about insights and perspectives, again, it goes back to the very top when we first started talking about this, is that what is your goal here? The goal was for you to gain a deeper understanding, right, of the challenges that they face, the experiences they have. And that enhances your perspective as a future educator, right, because you're going to be working with families and students who have disabilities. So that's how I want you to come at these questions when you're doing this reflection. The rubric is down here. The link's called interview, so you should be able to click on that and it will take you to that. Remember, the rubrics sometimes take a little while to load, so just be patient while they come up. All right, so you'll see here I have different criteria. And then I have different points assigned for each section. So for interview section, okay, how you'll read this is that the criteria you'll see here, if you want to get just an average grade for meeting the expectations of the assignment, you can only get a maximum of 12 points. If you want to get exceeds for the interview portion, you have to do this and this. So that's what I want you to realize the difference is that when you're exceeding, you're going beyond meeting the expectations. So you're going above it. So that's why I put that there for you to note. Then it's progressing, right? Maybe you didn't answer all the questions, you didn't come up with additional questions, those sorts of things. And then obviously no submission means you didn't submit that part of the project. Then you have grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Remember, college level writing is expected even through transcript and reflection pieces. So I'm also looking at how you organize it, right? And that confidentiality is maintained. And then lastly, we're looking at that reflection component, right? We're looking at that summary. So what insights did it refer to? Past experiences, new knowledge that you have gained, your reactions, right? And how this impacts you as a future educator. So you'll see here for interview, you have up to 16 points that you can earn. Again, confidentiality, organization, writing, that's 8 points. And then the summary paper or the reflection component is worth 16. Okay, so for a total of 40 points for this assignment. That will take care of the interview. So you can choose to do this one. If you choose to not interview, maybe you don't have anyone, then I would say the next best thing for you to do would be the journal article report. Now, I want to take time to go over this one as well so you can see the difference between the two. That will help you make a better decision on which one you plan on doing. And I would like you to email me which project you will be completing. So you'll see here, you have the objective. So what's the point of the assignment? Well, our objective is to gain insight as a teacher to reach future teaching goals, right? How do we do that? Through our objective. Our objective is you're going to select a peer-reviewed article from the journal Teaching Exceptional Children, okay? So any article you'd like, but it has to be through the journal Teaching Exceptional Children. Now, the reason I say any article is because the article you choose to focus on is going to be within a special ed topics, right? Because it's under Teaching Exceptional Children. I would like you to choose a topic that interests you, that is the grade level you want to teach. It is, if you're more focused on math, what you're good at. Think about where you excel. And that's the kind of article I would choose. Remember, it has to be peer-reviewed. Now, your article selection, here's some important notes I want you to take note of. The article selection, you have to ensure it is peer-reviewed, right? I don't want an editorial. I don't want a letter to the editor. I don't want a book review or survey or any non-referred content. It has to be an actual peer-reviewed article. The second thing I want you to note is that it has to come from Teaching Exceptional Children. I will not accept it. I will make you redo it if it's not, okay? The reason we choose this journal is because it specializes in practical methods and materials for educators who are going to work with children who have disabilities or who are gifted. So that's why we choose this journal. Now, another thing to note, there are some guidelines. You will have to include an APA citation, so I want you to reference and cite the paper. I have an example here how you can cite it, but also at the bottom, there is a video here that the librarian made for you talking about citing resources, and I'm going to show you another place to go that's going to help you as well. But make sure that you use APA citation, and I would like you to include it at the top of the paper, and this just makes it easier when I'm searching your article, when I'm grading it, to see and go pull the article up so I can have it as I'm grading your peer review article. Our library is a wonderful resource. Like I said here, I also have this video that the librarian was so kind to make for you that talks about APA citations, specifically relating to this assignment. So please watch it. That will be very helpful. But if you still have questions, the librarian's embedded into our class list. So if you go into course tools and click class list, you're going to see her there, Sabrina Moreland, and she is wonderful and she will help you. Now, let's get into the format. The format, it needs to be at least 2 to 3 pages. I will not accept anything less than 2, and I want two full pages. Spacing helps when I'm reading it, so 1.5 lines. Font, at least a 12, so it's easy on my eyes. Times New Roman is what I prefer. And I do want it in Word format. It's more accessible, so please make sure that it is in Word. Now the structure, how are you going to lay this out? I laid out here exactly how I want it laid out on the paper, on the document. So the first thing is going to be a header. And remember, this is APA format, so your header should be APA format. You're going to put your name, your course name, which is listed here, and the date. Then you're going to do your reference. I want a full citation of the article at the top before you begin your review. Then we're going to get into the summary, which is your third section. The third part is going to allow me to get a little snippet in your own words. So you're going to summarize, right, the article to let me know what it's about. Then you're going to get into the key points. The key points is I want you to tell me 4 of them. And key points means that this article's content is relevant to educators how, specifically focusing on special education. Then you move on into your critique. You're going to share your perspective of the article, right? Things you agree with, things that it made you question. Remember, try to relate this back to life experiences, maybe through peer tutor, any experience you have with special education. Anything that you've learned to relate to our course content would be helpful. Any research you find to support your critique, right? So you could even research things that you're learning in the article, and you can put that into your critique section. Remember, if you do use research to support your critique, you do need to include direct quotes and cite them as needed. So you will do in-text citations. And then lastly, application, right? So you're going to think about your impact as a future educator. So how did the article's ideas impact you to improve student learning in the classroom? Now, this could be whether you're going into special ed or even a gen ed classroom. And I want you to list 2 of those ways that it impacted you. Now, you can submit this early to me so I can give you feedback. I'm more than happy to do that. This is a great way for you to make sure you're on the right track and make any necessary improvements, right? I do have the rubric here. The rubric is helpful because I always tell students the rubric lets you know how exactly you're going to be graded. So I would suggest before you even begin working on it and selecting your article, I would read it all the way through. And then before you submit it, read it again. So let's look at the different ways you're going to be graded. Okay, so there's 3 sections I'm grading you on for this assignment. The first one is format and article section. What do I mean by that? Okay. Obviously, I'm looking to see if you use APA guidelines. Did you do an APA citation of the article at the very beginning? Are you doing in-text citations? Did you guideline and hit the format that I was wanting you to, where I had the different areas I had said that I wanted in there? Are you using the teaching exceptional children? And there's a few grammatical errors. Now, one thing I want to point out, you're going to see different levels here, right, assigned with different points. You have no submission, which means you left that part out. Progressing, right? So maybe you didn't follow all APA guidelines. Maybe you did not use the journal that you were supposed to, right? That writing's not consistent with college level expectations, so you would receive a 4. Meet expectations is just that you did exactly everything that I said. If you want to get exceeds, you're going to do all this plus more. Right? Because exceeding means you're going above and beyond, which would award you 12 points. But in that case, you're going to have to do this and more. So you read this section that explains how you get there to exceeds. Then we're looking at the article summary. The article summary is the big part of it, right? So we're going to summarize the article, but we're also going and looking at those important points, right? So the important points of the article and why they were. So that is going to be another section you will be graded on. Again, your assigned points and levels depending on if you did everything that was required and you met expectations. If you want to exceed, you do this and more. And then lastly, we're looking at critique and conclusion. This is where you give your opinion, what you thought about it, what you agreed, disagreed. You're making connections to the content. Your facts are conclusive and evident, right? And you have a conclusion that provides a summary to how this impacted you as a future educator. But if you want to exceed, you're going to do this and then this section as well. Okay, so make sure you read the rubric all the way through so you can kind of get an idea of how I'm grading you on each part of this project. Now, I did mention that there are resources here for you anytime you're doing research. The video that I suggest you watch is the one that the librarian put together. It's wonderful. Okay, so she kind of walks you through resources, how to cite APA for this specific assignment. Another good resource for you is called Purdue OWL University. Purdue OWL University is a great way for you to be able to cite. It talks all about APA 7th edition. It goes through, well, how do you do a video if you're using that and cite it? How do you do in-text citations? It's really helpful. Again, that's Purdue OWL. And I'll show you what it looks like. Sometimes it's called Purdue Online Writing Lab. That's what the OWL stands for. But this is for you. You learn how to reference how the font should look, APA guidelines, title lists, whatnot. So this is a really good resource for you. And again, if you choose this, it would be helpful if you watch the Screen Pal video that the librarian put together for you. And again, if you do have questions, you can reach out to either myself or the librarian. Although if you're looking specifically at researching in the database, I'm assuming that she would be more helpful because that is what she does every day. Okay, so when are these due and where do you submit them? So if you go to assessments and go to Dropbox, okay, you're going to have to scroll down underneath Service Learning, and you're going to see a section called Course Projects. I went ahead and separated it. That way you know where you're supposed to put your assignment. So you'll have one for an interview if you choose to do the interview. It's worth 40 points. The peer-reviewed article is also worth 40 points. And then those who chose to do work-based learning, yours is 40 points as well. So you would choose the correct Dropbox as to what assignment you chose. And again, I do want you to email me and let me know your decision on which one that you chose. All right, I hope this video was helpful and it broke down the course projects for you. As soon as you know, email it to me. Remember, these are due on March 23rd. And I know that seems like that's a lot of time from now, but really isn't, because if you have to research the peer-reviewed article, that's going to take time. Getting it to me ahead of time to make sure that you don't need to make any edits if it's looking good. Also, your interview. It's going to take time to find someone, to schedule time to do the interview, to get your reflection together, your transcript. This will take time, so please start on this now. Do not wait to do this project. All right, remember, you're just doing one of them, so you'll email me which choice you make. All right, guys, until next time, take care.